Hey everybody, David here, and today I want to talk about Loki, episode 2, The Variant. And yes, this is the newest episode of Loki, so let's get straight into it. This is going to contain spoilers, so if you haven't seen the episode, go check that out now and then come back and check this out after. Because yes, I'm going to talk about things that if you haven't seen the episode, you might not want to know this yet. So let's start with Wisconsin in 1985, where we see the Minutemen go down and track down this variant that's on the loose that we're told from the previous episode that it's a Loki variant. So we're wondering, okay, who is this Loki variant? Are we going to see who they are today? Maybe. And when they get there, they are ambushed. And I really like how they put on the Holding Out for a Hero song from Bonnie Tyler, a very popular song that I am very aware of. I said this in my Masters of the Universe trailer review because they used that song this week also. Or when that trailer landed last week. So to hear it again in this show was pretty funny. I actually prefer, I said this in the Masters of the Universe review, that I actually prefer the Shrek 2 version of the song, sung by Jennifer... I forgot the actress's name, but she did the voice of the fairy godmother in Shrek 2, and she sings it in that movie, a little remix of the song. But the original version obviously is the original version, so it sounded cool here, having the Minutemen getting their asses kicked by this Loki variant, as we're led to believe. So that was actually cool. And then we get to a moment in the episode where after they get their asses kicked, we see Loki talking to Miss Minutes, that cartoon that we saw from the previous episode explaining the whole time variant authority and the timekeepers. And this time, though, Miss Minute can actually talk back to Loki, which I thought was funny and interesting. I like their little interaction, and Loki trying to get her away because she was getting on his nerves. That was pretty funny to me. Later on, Mobius shows some of the other variants when they go and track down after they learn what happened to some of the Minutemen. Mobius shows some of the other Loki variants that they've had to, track down throughout the TVA's history. So we got to see some glimpses of other versions of Loki, which makes me wonder if we will see other versions of Loki. The showrunner has hinted that we could see different versions of other characters that we are familiar with. So it makes me wonder, not just other versions of Loki, could we see other versions of other characters as well in this universe? Especially with something that happens at the end of this episode, it makes you wonder, what are we getting ourselves into? Because this episode, I was thinking before this episode aired, this show was going to go one way. And now it looks like it's going in a completely different direction, which I find fascinating. So once they go and track down, they go to the crime scene where the Minutemen were attacked. Loki obviously tries to play his little mind games to try to escape. Mobius obviously says, hey, look, if you behave, I'll let you see the timekeepers. And even though he went to Ravonna Renslayer to negotiate that, she doesn't like the idea. And there was some interesting conversation going on between her and Mobius. Mobius, number one, he says he's never seen the timekeepers, which I thought was interesting. So he believes in these timekeepers that he's never seen before. You know, some people would argue that if you're a religious person, it's interesting that people would believe in something that they've never seen, but some people go by faith. There was a little bit of talk about that in this episode, which I thought was interesting for a show like Loki to tackle. Bring up these very heavy conversations that you normally wouldn't see in a superhero movie. But because this is a little bit longer, and Marvel would love to talk about, have little conversations like that once in a while. The conversation with Loki and Mobius while they're doing some research. It was nice to hear a conversation like that in a Marvel show. So because in something like Arrow or The Flash or Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., you never got those kind of deep conversations, and I thought it was interesting hearing it in this show. So I really liked it. And something that I thought was interesting that Ravonna Rainslayer says, she calls Loki an evil and lying scourge. In the timeline, in the sacred timeline, right? But we know that's not really true because, come on, Loki, towards the end of his time, Loki was already turning himself around and sacrificed himself to save Thor for the greater cause. And yeah, whether you look at that as, oh yeah, but he was helping further Thor's journey. If it wasn't for Loki, maybe Thanos would have killed Thor in a different way. So I think Loki, around Thor: The Dark World is where Loki's redemption begins, right? It's where he starts becoming that anti-hero, if you will. I think this show is obviously going to turn and make Loki a real hero by the end of it. I think he's going to be a completely different character by this. Instead of just being an anti-hero, I think he is going to become a hero 100%. And I don't think anybody will argue with that. Moving on, Loki and Mobius continue to do some research, Loki does eventually go on and read about Asgard and its fate, and he has a little moment there where, when Thor Ragnarok actually happens, they kind of were having a little fun there and didn't really give much time to grieve over the loss of Asgard. So it was nice actually seeing Loki grieve about it, seeing how many people had died on Asgard and how many people were able to survive from it. But he does notice that while reading it, that there were 0 time variants detected. And that gives him the idea that, wait a minute, if there were no time variants detected, maybe what this variant is doing is hiding in apocalyptic places throughout time to hide himself or herself. So he tells that to Mobius, and they decide, look, take me to Asgard, take me to Ragnarok. And he's like, why? So you can escape there to your home world? And says, okay, it could be anywhere. So they go to Pompeii, which was a history buff should know this. It's a real situation that happened in Italy in 79 AD. And they test it out, and Loki wants to make a test to see if causing a little bit of trouble would change the timeline. And Mobius is like, okay, make some bird sounds, because he doesn't want to do anything drastic. He's scared that the timeline might go insane. But no, Loki goes and causes a ruckus by releasing some sheep and telling people he's from the future. I thought it was hilarious. Or it was funny. Mobius realizes, oh wow, this is actually working. So maybe Loki is right. So he goes to Ravonna and tells her, hey, look, it looks like this guy is right, and he knows what he's talking about. So why don't we go to this? First he does some research again, because they have to figure out what time could this person be hiding. And Mobius remembers the candy from the little girl from the previous episode in the church, where she points to the stained glass window of the devil, that it's the devil, right? And she had blue candy in her mouth, and he asks her, where did you get this? And she says that the demon that she saw gave it to her. So that makes, while Loki and Mobius are having that deep discussion about belief and freedom, free will, Mobius realizes the candy it could be a clue to where she could be hiding, and he realizes that the candy was around a specific time. And so him and Loki uh, look for an apocalyptic event around the time that the candy was created, and I guess the time it expired. And it narrows it down, and they eventually find a time, the 2050. So they go to Alabama, Haven Hills, Alabama in 2050, to see if their hunch is right. And it looks like they are right, because they do stumble across them. Not only do they find one of the Minutemen that was captured by this variant in the beginning of the episode, but Loki stumbles upon the variant himself and starts to try to have a conversation with him to learn a little bit about him. And there were some interesting lines, I thought, that were probably, there's already some people I'm hearing thinking that maybe this is not who we're thinking it is. And some of the lines that I thought, I wrote them down here, I thought were interesting. So one of the things this variant says is, "So, you're the fool the TVA brought in to hunt me down." I thought that was an interesting line, because you're the fool. Why would Loki call himself a fool? You know, or maybe she thinks, or he thinks, this variant thinks that this person is not, maybe it's not Loki, you know, and that's a theory that's I heard some people thinking about right now. He also says, I'm just gonna say it was a she, okay, because I'm just gonna keep calling her a she by accident. So yes, the variant turns out to be a she Loki. It looks like he's wearing Loki's crown or something similar to Loki's crown. So another thing, but she's taking over other bodies, saying all this stuff. She also says, please, if anyone's anyone, you're me. Because Loki's a shapeshifter, so he could transform into her if he really wanted to. Another thing that's the variant also didn't like it when Loki called her Loki. Why wouldn't she like to be called by her true name if that was the case? Another thing, Loki says, I would never treat me like this. And I mean, Loki would know himself better than anyone, right? And then finally, after she reveals herself to be a female, she does say, this isn't about you. So these are some lines of dialogue. That's the line I'm hearing the most that people are taking from "This Isn't About You." That these lines, that line in particular, has probably a different meaning. And looking at some of these other lines, I'm starting to agree with that. I think that, yeah, maybe this isn't really a variant of Loki. Maybe this is a variant of something else that we're not even expecting. And there's already some rumors or some theories going around about who this could be, because apparently the credits kind of spoiled something. And I'm not going to spoil it here just in case it turns out to be true. I want to see if more information on the show comes about it, because that would spoil upcoming episodes. And we're not spoiling upcoming episodes here. We're spoiling this episode. So for now, I am starting to think that maybe this isn't a variant of Loki, and this is a variant of something else. Something that maybe we don't even know who it is. So what is this variant trying to do? It looks like they accomplished what they were trying to do, because they have the little devices that the variants use to travel into each timeline. But she uses it to send the bombs to different times through the sacred timeline. And what made this interesting, as soon as that happens, the TVA is going crazy. The alarms are sounding off. We're like, holy shit, what's happening? And we're starting to see the branches dive off of the sacred timeline. The multiverse is being created. People on Twitter today were going crazy. I saw some tweets this morning of people going, We thought WandaVision was going to be the one to create the multiverse. It looks like Loki is the one that's creating the multiverse, as some people were speculating last week when they were introducing the concept already. I just didn't think it would be this early on. I was expecting an episode like this, like maybe episode 4 or 5 before the finale. So it's interesting that this happened right now. Another thing I thought was interesting is if you look at the computer in Ravona's office, she's looking at a computer and it's listing a lot of places, a lot of times, dates and places that are being hit. Some of the places I took notes of, I wrote them down. I had to pause the screen to see this because I thought it was interesting. Some of the places they were showing. Asgard was being hit February 16, 2004. So that was even before Iron Man in the timeline. Iron Man, even before he became Iron Man, Tony Stark became Iron Man, 2004. Sakaar, which was the planet that the Grand Master was on in Thor Ragnarok, his planet looks like it was destroyed on February, or it was hit on February 2nd, 1888. And then Ego, the living planet, who turns out to be Peter Quill's father, played by Kurt Russell. Apparently, he got hit by one of these bombs on February or December 27th, 1382. Titan, the homeworld of Thanos, got hit October 13, 1982, which would be a couple of years before he even found Gamora. Xandar, the planet from the first planet, remember in Guardians of the Galaxy where the Nova Corps lived on? Their planet got hit September 24th, 1001. And so those were some of the Easter egg planets that I thought were interesting that got hit by these bombs that I guess this variant released. And then obviously the variant gets away and we see Loki, and Mobius is running towards him and like saying, "Loki, no!" And Loki escapes, and that's how the episode ends. And yeah, this was a really good episode. I thought even better than the first episode, and the first episode was already really good too. And you know what? It was unpredictable for me. I wasn't sure where this episode was going, and when I thought I knew, even Loki, there were times in this episode I was like, man, when they said Loki was unpredictable, he really is unpredictable. I don't know what he's doing and what he's thinking, and I don't know myself what he's going to do next. So I thought the episode delivered definitely on the predictable factor. It was very unpredictable, and it makes me curious what's going to happen next. Obviously, I think we're going to have a conversation between Loki and this variant. And we're going to learn next week who she is. I think we're going to have a full-out conversation between the two characters. So it will be, I hope anyways, I want to know more about this variant and who she is, and why she's doing what she's doing, because she clearly has a reason for doing all this and destroying all these timelines. And if it's not personal against Loki, if it's for herself, I'm curious to see how it. I'm curious for more answers. Let's just put it this way. And I am curious about the timekeepers as well, because they're hinting that, are the timekeepers even real? We don't know. And when you listen to that conversation between Ravonna and Mobius, when they're in the office for the first time having that conversation, Ravonna is clearly hiding some things that we're not too sure yet. Like, she knows more, and she's not giving enough information about it. So it makes me wonder what she's hiding, what she actually knows. And it's interesting that Mobius is just yeah, sure, I believe in the timekeepers and what they're doing, and maybe he shouldn't. And I think we're gonna see his faith broken by the end of this series, and he's gonna help Loki 100%. So, with that being said, guys, what do you think? Do you have any theories? Because my theories are very limited right now. I'm not really sure. I think the show could go anywhere by this point because I think we almost saw everything from the trailers already. I think there's only a few shots in the trailers that we haven't seen yet. So I am very excited to see next week what they're going to give us. So with that being said, before I sign off, I want to thank my Patreon supporters for supporting this channel. They are paying a monthly subscription to help me out on patreon.com/DavidJordeo, where you can pick a $5 or a $10 tier. I think most people will pick the $5 because the thing that I'm offering is getting a credit at the end of each video, like right now, where I personally thank you out loud. So thank you guys. Your support means the world to me, and I'm hoping to grow this channel more, and the only way I can do that is if I get more supporters, and I want to concentrate more. I want to try to deliver videos earlier rather than later, like today, you know, because I work to make a living, guys, and if I want to make this a regular thing and I want to take this to the next level, I need the best support I can get. And these people, obviously, they found it in their hearts, I guess, to help me out, and I really appreciate that. And I know we're all in struggling times right now, so nobody is like, I'm not expecting a lot of people, but if you want to help support this channel and grow this channel, it would really mean a lot. So thank you to those three that are donating. It really means a lot, and hopefully more will eventually join as we continue. So thank you. With that being said, I hope you guys can like this video. Please subscribe to my channel, and until next time, take care.